Hello and welcome to Read Red. Today I have a fun, kind of different video planned. Most of the time on this channel I am talking about just books, but like everybody else I like to indulge in other works of art, and I enjoy obviously watching great films and listening to great music, and I've been thinking for a while about how exactly do I start to work those things into the channel, just to talk about them, and I thought that a cool idea would be to do a little bit of a milk and honey, coffee and cigarettes, tea and biscuits sort of vibe, where I just say, if you liked this book or this author, then I also recommend this work of art. And so it doesn't have to be, it's not going to be like adaptations. Like, I actually set a rule for myself to not do any, if you liked this book then you should watch the movie adaptation, or vice versa. The choices that I've made are things that either have similar themes, or I just think have a similar, I got a similar aesthetic pleasure out of them, or yeah, I just reckon that if you are the sort of person who liked these sorts of books, then you're probably also going to be the sort of person who likes this movie or likes this music. So yeah, let's get started. I have 5 examples for today. I have a couple of more in the back of my mind, but if you like the idea or the format of this video, I recommend making one of your own so that I can see and get some suggestions for works of art to go and indulge in. But also, yeah, just let me know and I'll make some more videos of a similar format. But getting started, if you like the works of Dostoevsky, so for my own reference, I've read Crime and Punishment and The Brothers K. If you like the works of Dostoevsky, then I'm going to recommend watching Andrei Rublev by Andrei Tarkovsky. And so Tarkovsky, for anyone who doesn't know, Tarkovsky was a Russian filmmaker who made 7 films, and all of them are masterpieces, basically. I spent a period, maybe 2 years ago, just binge watching all of his films, and a lot of them have become sort of favorite films of all time. Andrei Rublev, I'm even wearing a shirt celebrating it. And the reason that I'm recommending them both, recommending Andrei Rublev in comparison or in connection with Dostoevsky, is partly because I feel like the pacing of Andrei Rublev is very akin to the sort of slow burn and development of a Dostoevsky novel. If you're a particular fan of Crime and Punishment, I think that the religious catharsis that occurs over the course of, well, I mean, really that happens in Brothers K as well, but if you're a fan of that sort of development, then I think you'll especially like it with how some of the side characters develop in Andrei Rublev. But yeah, I think that Tarkovsky, when I watched Andrei Rublev, I just thought, this feels so much like a Dostoevsky novel that anyone who's a fan of one, I generally recommend the other. So yeah, if you're a fan of Dostoevsky, then I recommend you watch Andrei Rublev by Andrei Tarkovsky. Moving on, if you are a fan of Ulysses by James Joyce, then I am going to recommend Ben Jonston's String Quartet No. 4, which is his theme and variations on Amazing Grace. And the reason that I'm recommending the 2 of those, this is maybe a little bit more of an abstract or a wild card pick, but what I got out of both of them is that so Ben Jonston, just for some context, was a classical composer, and specifically he focused on writing and composing microtonal music, and I gravitated really heavily towards that during my studies. And what I love so much about Johnston's arrangement and orchestration of Amazing Grace is that he essentially pulls out all of the stops in terms of technique and just really intricately composed parts for anyone who can read sheet music, just take a look at this example of one of the sections. But the main reason why I wanted to compare them and I want to recommend them is that I feel like both Johnston and Joyce understood that there is a sort of transcendence that can only occur when pushing virtuosity to its absolute limit, and both of them use simple structures. So Joyce is using kind of hero's journey of the Odyssey, and Johnston is using the general melody or the framework of Amazing Grace. And both of them are using it as a sort of platform or a jumping off point to just insert as much technical virtuoso brilliance as possible. And yeah, I just think that the two of them go together so well. This orchestration of Amazing Grace, it has its ups and downs, or in terms of it has its difficult passages, but it's about 11 minutes long, recorded by the Kepler Quartet. And again, just to bring some things together with Joyce, with how long Finnegan's Wake took to write. I believe this music, so Johnston's string quartets were so complicated that it took this quartet something like 20 years to actually finish recording them. So yeah, that's why I think that if you are a fan of Ulysses, you'll also enjoy Ben Johnston's String Quartet number 4, Variations on Amazing Grace. Next up, if you liked The Notebooks of Malta Lords Brigger by Rainer Maria Rilke, then I'm going to recommend Wings of Desire by, I believe it's directed by Wim Wenders, and I watched this movie only recently, actually, and it had been recommended by my brother, who is a bit of a film fanatic, and I knew that I was just hearing the synopsis, I knew that I was going to love it. It's essentially, the TLDR is it's a bunch of angels moseying, walking around the streets of Berlin, and that was all I knew going into it. But going in, you learn that the angels can actually read people's minds, and you're getting inner monologues of a lot of characters' desires, dreams, hopes, fears, aspirations, etc. And it just reminded me a lot of Malta Lords Brigger, although this book is really just a meditation on one character. In terms of that, just meandering around a city and using it as a medium to explore like deep, complex inner thoughts and process an artist's feelings and ideas, I found that just reminded me when I watched Wings of Desire, and especially when it fixates on a couple of the core main characters and the way that their life develops. Yeah, I got some really serious Malta Lords Brigger vibes. So if you happened to like Rilke's Malta Lords Brigger, I'm going to recommend watching Wings of Desire. Okay, I don't actually have a physical copy of this one, but if you liked I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, then I am going to recommend the video game Soma. And so I wouldn't generally recommend a video game because, if you're not a gamer, I'm not going to ask you to play anything that's going to be very kind of technically intricate, like we're not going to be playing any Souls-like games or anything. But Soma, the reason I'm recommending it is that it is essentially a walking simulator that is extremely story-driven and narrative-driven, and like in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which explores a malicious AI that has captured and imprisoned and is effectively torturing these humans that live in this world. And then there's a great kind of turn. It's a very grotesque, almost Lovecraftian, maybe like a digital Lovecraftian horror. Soma eases you into that world, and it starts with these general questions of a character goes to get a brain scan because the character is actually dying of an illness, and then what happens is the premise is that these doctors are saying, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to make some scans of your brain and then experiment on that artificial representation of you. Whatever we find out, we'll treat you in real life. And what happens is after the character goes to get his brain scanned, we then have a hard jump to a horror dystopian, giving me sort of Bioshock vibes of this dystopian underwater world, and you're going through, it is a horror game, but really it's very story driven, and the story essentially just makes you ask a lot of questions about what is the nature of being an artificial consciousness, what would happen to people when they realize that they have digital representations of themselves, and all in all, Soma is just a really brilliant game, and it's a brilliant story. It's and I'm recommending it, because it's not going to be very hard to play. It's really just, a lot of the times just pressing forward and looking around and exploring. But I think that if you're interested in the nature of artificial intelligence, and if you want to just experience a really brilliant story that explores those themes, then Soma is going to be an excellent choice or an excellent use of your time. I reckon even not being a gamer, you could finish it in about a day. So yeah, give Soma a go. I highly recommend it. And last but not least, if you liked Philip K. Dick's Ubik, then I am going to recommend Paprika by Satoshi Kon. And so Paprika is, a quick on Ubik. Ubik is a bonkers book because and just to describe it, in sci-fi or in any book, there's, if they've got a lot of world building, then we talk about gradual, this like slope of information and how quickly you're introduced to new concepts. So some books have a very gradual slope and they ease you into the world. Some books have a lot of world building up front and you need to just kind of get on board really quickly if it's going to make sense. Ubik is unique because the slope is a vertical line and you essentially start from knowing nothing and you have no idea what is going on in this book, and then the book gradually unravels, and by the end you feel like you've figured out some ideas, but it's a very unique experience just starting from the top and just like working down and devolving or melting. What I like about Paprika is actually it's not phrased or it's not paced the same way as Ubik, but it also explores intense surreal imagery. It's weirdly enough, the film is a lot like, or the animated film is a lot like the movie Inception, but it came out just a few years, or maybe 4 years before Inception. It explores cyber terrorism that is going on by people invading other people's dreams, but it starts to just bring in a lot of images from one's subconscious. It explores, what the limits of technology can be and the right of a company to actually invade people's dreams and use them as therapy, but then what happens if they're used for malicious means, and all in all, it's just, the movie just had a similar vibe to me. I don't think I could say that the themes really match. In Ubik, there's a kind of theological underlying with what Ubik itself is that I wouldn't necessarily say is in Satoshi Kon's Paprika, but I just think that if you liked Ubik, you'll also like Paprika. So I figured I would mention it, and it's just a very experimental film. If you are averse to anime, because of like just not liking a lot of the popular anime, then I recommend watching this film because you'll get a lot of the just general good storytelling that you'd get in a lot of the Studio Ghibli films and so on. But if you're a fan of postmodern surreal cinema and you want to see one that has a very similar vibe and essence to Philip K. Dick's Ubik, then I recommend watching Paprika. And those are all the recommendations that I have for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some recommendations, and of course, if it happens to be that you've seen that film or played that video game but you haven't read that relevant work, it obviously works backward, so you could just get recommendations for reading these books, and let me know any other combinations that you have, these two works of art that you think synchronize and work well together, and also let me know if you want me to do more, because like I said, I have a couple of other examples, but I just wanted to save them for future videos if it works out. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed these recommendations and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.